Peter, I've been watching your tweets, and I guess from following your tweets, we can say that you're bullish.
Well, I think that's a fair description, Ren. I am, as a matter of fact. I started becoming constructive here a little earlier in the year, and it set up just perfectly for me. And it was a very, very clear bottom that we created. So I think the question is, how far does this go, and in exactly how does it go? Do we go straight up from here, or do we come back and test the 3,000 level lows, or at least get back to toward 4,200? That's the big question. And for me to kind of explain that, I probably need to cheat a little bit and disclose some of the comments I'm going to make in New York City next week at Consensus 2019.
So, Peter, what is it that makes you so bullish? I mean, if I look at the graphs and the stuff that you send us, what is it that makes you so bullish?
Well, you have to look really at the long-term chart that goes back to 2011, 2012. And what you'll see there is a magnificent thing that happened going into the 2013 high, and that was a parabolic move. And it was a parabolic move on a log scale. A parabolic move on a log scale is a magnificent thing. It may only happen once in a decade. And so we saw that parabolic advance be broken, and then we saw the market from 2013 into 2015 correction, and then entered another parabolic move. So we have two parabolic moves in the same market. That's just unheard of. And of course, that topped in December of 2017, and we spent 2018 correcting. And I think that there is a chance that we are going now into the third parabolic move of modern times. And the idea that you look at a market and consider it to be a long-term chart when it's only a decade long is pretty magnificent. And then if you see the possibility of three parabolic moves in a decade's period, that's unheard of. That perhaps has not been seen since we saw German interest rates in the 1920s. So this is unprecedented. And so the big question in my mind is, are we going into a third parabolic move in Bitcoin, which would be absolutely historic? And for right now, I think the evidence comes down on the side that is a real possibility. The moving average that I look at, which is a weekly chart moving average, turned up here about 4 weeks ago. The last time that moving average turned up was in early 2015, when Bitcoin went from $350 to 19,900, depending on what exchange you're trading. That is a quantum move. And so we have the same situation. Is we have seen an upturn in the long-term trend. The last upturn took Bitcoins from $350 to almost $20,000. And so what happens now, we also have a very classic ascending triangle chart bottom on the market. And so for me, it's green lights. It's green lights ahead. Now, I think there's a chance that Bitcoin could stumble here a little bit at the level it's at. Coming out the 2018 high, we found a bottom, and we tested that bottom about 5 or 6 times in what classical chartists call a descending triangle. And of course, that broke down in November last year, and we saw a big plunge in the market. And so if you look at the bottom of that descending triangle and project that low out, we are now testing that level. So that could be a testy level for Bitcoin here. And so we could see Bitcoin run into a little bit of trouble. The thing I've been looking at for months is that the correction from the 2018 high, if you take a look at the structure of that correction, it is an analog to what we saw in the correction from 2013 to 2015. And in the 2013 to 15 period, there was a retest of the lows that took place, the low in the January in August of 2015, and then it was straight up from there. So if you carry that analog further, we could see the bottom that we made in December retested somewhere here in late summer, or at least an attempt to retest it. And so I think if we see the market back away from this level where we're at right now, we could see a correction that would take place. We turned a lot of the bulls came back out of the closet. And when all the bulls come back out of the closet, usually the market doesn't reward their FOMO. And so we've seen FOMO getting poured back into this market. We could shake some of these late bulls out that came in a little bit late and then build the base for another parabolic move. So do we have a parabolic move here, or do we have a parabolic move from the end of summer? That's the big question.
Peter, if we get parabolic, like you say, what's the next high for Bitcoin?
Well, I think 50,000. I mean, you hear a lot of people saying it's going to dreams. I mean, hey, it's got to get to 10,000 before it gets to 20,000. So you got to take it a step at a time, and you got to prove that this is truly a bottom, which I think it is. And so I would think if you look at the market, and I'd have to get in some complicated math and on a log basis, but if you take a look at the math that's underwriting the Bitcoin market since the early 2010-11 period, I would think that you have a pretty good shot at the 50,000 level if we develop another parabolic advance.
Peter Brandt, it's a great pleasure having you on Crypto Trader, and we'll see you again next week at Consensus right here in New York City.
And hey, nice spending time with you always, and welcome to the U.S.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. That's Peter Brandt, and I guess it goes to show that not all OGs are bearish.